Yeah, hello and welcome to this video. This is chapter 8 of our course on how to fight e4 like Caruana. Chapter 8 deals again with the proper Petrov. So we have these starting moves, and now what we're going to look at is the following. White taking on e5, and after this sequence we will examine the move d4. This was the undisputed main line of the whole Petrov for a very long time, basically up until maybe 10 to 15 years ago, when people started to employ knight c3 more regularly. And I think by now we can safely say that this is this has all the right to be called the main line and not d4 anymore. But okay, this is a technicality, what you call main line, new main line, old main line. I've labeled this the old main line because I perceive that knight c3 is more popular nowadays, and also I feel sets more difficult problems for black. So d4 is of course the most natural move ever. White wants to develop with bishop d3. We play d5, of course, as it is typical in this opening. And now it's, I think, quite interesting to think about this term, this position in a more general term, that it is a symmetrical pawn structure in the center, and in fact it is the same pawn structure as we get in an exchange French with the open e file. The real cunning thing about this is that black is actually in some way ahead in development. It's like it was symmetrical and then black played knight to e4. I could imagine that it is a completely symmetrical position and black's last move was knight to e4. So what white does in this line, or wants to prove in this line, is that this knight is more of a liability than a strength. This is a common theme, of course. We have seen something similar also in the line starting with 3d4, but here it is very, very pronounced. White will basically base all his play that is all the play that is in some way ambitious. White can also do like just nothing and don't pose any problem, but everything that is going to be a threat in some way to black's game will be related to trying to attack the knight, trying to attack d5 with c4, somehow trying to prove that this knight is prematurely somehow placed, or let's say unstably placed on e4. So let's get going with some moves. White now goes bishop d3. This is the absolute main line and super logical. We should briefly check what else white has tried. White also has tried the immediate c4. This is, however, quite obviously not so challenging because that check looks good, and it is good for black. After a sequence like that, white already has to worry about being equal. Something like this, for example, is just excellent for black. We have all those pins going on, and white is in trouble after a very short time in the game. Very rarely seen also bishop e2. It's really rather pointless to have it here instead of d3. I mean, it would break a pin that is not yet there, but not the most logical move. It's just that I think you should just play like as we do in the main line. Go bishop d6 and do something like that. If you compare that to the bishop being on d3, it's just a more passive version. As I mentioned, the pressure against d5 is a key element to white's play and almost the only element. So here this is not really happening. So bishop d3 is the main line by miles. Here in fact is a very important parting of the ways where black now is able to choose the line. This is something that I always feel is quite comfortable. If in key situations you are the one determining how the play is going to continue. I will go right away and show you what we're going to play. What our recommendation is bishop to d6. This is also what Caruana has played all the time. He has not really varied in any way there. He always played bishop d6, which is an interesting choice. It was not the main line up to some years ago. But Caruana has done an excellent job of showing how great black's resources are in this line. I'd like to mention that there are many alternatives here. So once you have mastered bishop d6, it would be quite easy to add something else to your repertoire. What I want to mention in particular is a line that I've played myself in games, and that is bishop to e7, castles, and bishop f5. A line that not yet has a name, but it would be probably appropriate to call it the Chinese wall. That's how I coined it. That is a line that is played by I think almost all of the Chinese top players, from Ding to Wang Yu and so on. They all play this line. Yu Yang Yi. They seem to work as a team on that particular line. That is a very solid alternative. It's a very different line because here black does not try to, with what he does with bishop d6, tries not to display the utmost activity, but here black is more out to neutralize white with ideas like this. I just wanted to mention that this is a good alternative. Also, sometimes it happened to me that people look in databases and then they send me a message like, oh, you recommend that move, but you played something else. And I played, in fact, this line earlier in 2018 in an important game. At the time, I did not yet start this project here on the Caruana repertoire, so I never looked at bishop d6 at that particular moment. So it was not a choice between the two. I only later learned how bishop d6 works. So let's look at this. Bishop to d6. Black chooses the most active square for the bishop quite clearly. That is the most active square, and really says, okay, I'm not going to give you any ground. I'm just trying to be as active as possible and trying to prove that my knight is not a problem on e4, but rather an asset. Here white castles. There's really not much else. White can try to play c4 immediately, and the only thing that I wanted to show is that here the tempting looking move bishop b4 check is not really that great. I was surprised to see that, but white can even play king f1 and it's not that clear. So my suggestion is to simply castle here if after c4 and say, okay, white, you don't have anything better than castling yourself, which is a transposition to the main line. And I think this is probably true. The alternatives don't really convince at all. If white, for example, takes, then the check makes a lot more sense, as now the center is opened immediately, and something like that is just comfortable for black. White also may play c5, after which we of course drop back, no other square, and then play like this is very logical. We can attack this pawn, and white's expansion here didn't really net anything. We can also go here at a later stage. This is very fine. c4 already is a rather obscure move. I just wanted to point out that the immediate bishop b4 check is not it's not really that promising. By the way, just to show a difference, like here king f1 is less of an issue because the center is open and there is no c5 threat. If you imagine this here, white would even threaten this and make this bishop look a bit silly. So we have to see a difference there. Again, c4 is rather obscure. I just want to point out, don't give the check immediately. So white usually castles and we castle, and now here the only testing plan for white really is the move c4 now, by far the main move, or maybe white can flick in rook e1 and then play c4. That's the only thing that poses any sort of problem. If white plays slowly, and we will look at two examples that are kind of the same now, if white is playing in a passive way, we have no problem at all. But I would like to point out that this is happening really in games. People don't always play c4, particularly not if you are playing like in a regular club game or in a league game that is not the first league in any country. People will sometimes just not play the main lines that are challenging, but play something else. And here, this is, for example, extremely comfortable for black already. we keep the e4 knight, and this knight is a nuisance. It's just a strong piece. Here white doesn't have enough pressure, and note here it's already too late for any c4 action, because if you enjoyed the free video preview, make sure to go to chessable.com/fightlikecaruana to get the full course. The full course with the move trainer and video sync technology is an excellent way to learn all the ideas and strategies connected to this repertoire. These lines were essential in Caruana's fight to get the world title match, and they can be an essential part of your opening repertoire as well.